Hi, I'm Mr. Miyagi and this is Mr. Miyagi's workshop. On this bike, we pulled off the 2-in-1 system, and since I don't have the old stock exhaust, we're going to make a set. Now I happen to find a set of old Triumph pipes that I can modify to work out. So what we'll probably do here, cut and put in a new angle at the top there. And then we'll probably go back and we'll do the wrap like what they've done on this exhaust. So we'll see how all that works out. But I just wanted to show you what we were doing because the exhaust ran through where I want to put the center kickstand back on. It was going to be in the way. So let's go over to the table and I'll show you where I'm going from this point. All right, what I have here is, you can see that this was a cutoff of a stock exhaust system, and I also have the slip over capture. What I plan on doing is welding this 1.5-inch tubing to the old exhaust mounts. One thing, I'm leaving these interior pipes, so what that does is it necks it down a little bit and gives you a little bit more lower end torque. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to put this into the lathe and I'm going to cut that weld off all the way around. And then we will fashion this on there. So let me do that and I'll come back in a minute here. You can see I've cleaned this area up quite well. This is all done by wire brush. Got it up there nice and neat. I'm going to go around and make sure that this is a good weld all the way around this. And same on this one, fill it in so that I know that it's not going to come off or break or crack in that area. And then we'll take it over after I've welded on a short stub piece that'll stick out beyond the clamp itself, and that will be our starting point. So I've added these pieces on there, went around and welded up the area where I needed to fill in. But you can see how it's tapered a little bit. That's going to give a little bit of lower end torque. The problem with a lot of these bikes that I see come into the shop, that a lot of the guys, they just run the straight exhaust, they run it short, they want it loud. Well, the problem is the damn bike doesn't run worth a darn. Most bikes, most engines, 99.9% need back pressure to run. The ones that don't need back pressure, I think, are called jet engines. They create their own. So anyway, I'm going to get this, let these cool down, and then I'm going to fit them on the bike, and we'll go from there. So what I got going on here is I welded those extensions onto the old pipes. Now you want to use the gasket because it'll set off the right distance. So, and then I clamped these up just barely. I just pushed them on there. You want to use the gasket so it'll give you the right spacing and everything on there. And then I kind of eyeballed what I wanted. Also what I did is I cut one of the 180 tubings of the 1.5 inch. I cut it in half so that it will be welded onto there. When you're cutting the 180 curves off to use on a down tube, you'll note that it is not perfectly round, so you will have to straighten that out. You can either fit a piece of tubing in there and pound it to straighten it out, or you can very carefully in the vise squeeze these together and work it into a circle again so that it would fit on the end of the tubing that you're welding in there. So you have to play with this. So you can see where I've straightened this one out using the vise, and this is the other one that I'm going to have to work on. But this will have a little better fit when you weld this together, and your welds will look a hell of a lot nicer. Okay, I've got this mocked up here a little bit. This is a little high on this end here, but I'm following pretty close to what the frame is. So that's a good thing. What I need to do is I need to bring this out and then kind of kick it up a little bit for when the exhaust mufflers get here. So I'll probably end up having the mufflers kind of in this area. I don't know yet. I'm going to get it that far. Hopefully my mufflers will show up here in a couple of days. I was going to use the Triumph exhaust, but then I decided against it. I had enough tubing, so I'm going to continue on with this and build this side, and I'll build the other side, and you'll get an idea where I'm going, hopefully. Well, as you can see, I've finished welding up a section of pipe on this side and on the left side of the bike. Now, I did run into a couple of small problems on both sides. This side will go over first. The brake pedal, which was this one, notice the kick on it is a little bit different than this style of pedal. So what was happening is when I would push down on the brake, it was hitting against the pipe. So I just changed this pedal out. But in order to do that, it doesn't have this little groove around there. So when this slides on, that the bolt will pass through, and that also becomes part of a catch, because this is a squeeze style fit, and this is the serrated all the way around, slides over and fits in. One of the other things that it actually had a stop to where you could adjust this thing, so when you released it, it only go back so far. This one doesn't. What it's doing is actually hitting against the bottom edge of the foot peg, and it's not a big deal, but it just stops right there. So what I ended up having to do on the other one, which didn't have this notch, I ended up taking a drill bit and drilling down through this while I had it on there, so that it scuffed out around the area here so that the bolt would go through. A real simple process. I had to pull off the foot peg to kind of get enough clearance to get down in there and do it, but it saved me other than taking that whole unit brake assembly apart, and it was just a quick fix, boom, it's done. Everything went back together again. Now let's go to the other side here and I'll show you what's going on over there. So on this left side, my other problem is that the kickstand on this side is hitting against the exhaust. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add on to this kickstand area and modify it a bit and bring the rod out so that this kickstand actually hits where it's supposed to, back up underneath the frame, and then there'll be a little loop out here that you can kick the kickstand forward. So this is my fix. I ended up cutting off this tip, was attached right in this area here, and now it swings up out of the way. We have a good foot grab to get down. Basically all I did is I took some 5/16 rod and a ball bearing, welded it up, drew a little paint on it, Good to go. Now it's clear. You can get to it. Tucked up out of the way, so there's plenty of road clearance and everything there. So before I can finish the exhaust up in this area here, I need to get these brackets for the bags, the hard bags, the tusk bags, mounted. Now there's going to be some modification to these, because these are literally designed for a KLR 1985. What I did here is I removed the turn signal, and I'm going to relocate those to these little turn signals back here. But I use this mount to get everything in the right position, how I want everything to lay out. So what I'm going to end up having to do is I'm going to have to cut this and modify it so that this bracket I can pick up on this old foot peg bracket. And we're going to modify this one piece right here, so we're going to bring another longer piece down and then tie into that. Well, we've got both exhaust pipes finished on this bike. We wrapped them, we set them up. I also put a bend in down here a little bit to get the muffler to kick up, so we got road clearance. We attached it to the back foot peg mount. I don't know what the pipes sound like right at the moment because I haven't finished rebuilding the carburetors. Another thing we did is we took the 12.5-inch shocks off and put the 11.5s on so that my wife's feet would be flat on the ground when she stood on the bike. We finished up the back rack for the tusk bags. I modified the front bracket to go to where the rear foot peg mount was at. I also picked up the center on the fender bolt here and the back turn signal mounts. I also finished off the back rack brace that goes around there. I had to shorten that up a little bit because this is a little narrower than the KLR. Other than that, it's in pretty good shape here. We're pretty much ready to rock and roll. Well, I hope you liked this episode on building an exhaust system. If there's any questions or comments, put them in the comment section below or send them to my email at tmiyagi@hotmail.com. Now, if you've liked this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that ringy-dingy button for the next episode coming up. So this is Mr. Miyagi signing off and hoping you're all safe out there. Hope to see you on the road. So, ciao.